Otome game meets mecha anime, the Xenogears otome, the Neon Genesis Evangelion otome, the ultimate sci-fi otome. All things eternal Tierblade is not. Far off the dire world polluted by the war of humans lives a girl Eve since 3,000 years, said to hold powers to save the world in the Neosphere, her own little world of clean air and lush greenery, together with her trusty AI and Li, Cradle, until two strange men fall into her peaceful world. Yes, they literally fall into her world and miraculously survive, hunted by the army and their... Here you go! Mecha, aka Tierblades. And apparently they are eternal Tierblades. While in your first run of the common route you'll be like, oh, Shudo is so cool for being able to pilot that Tierblade. And the second run it will sound like, glad Otava also is a chosen one. Kind of. The third character will make you go, oh, him as well. Who would have thought? As the different runs of the common route and battles just swap out the fighting characters according to your pursued Li. And here you go, watch the same fight again with a different Li. That is especially true for the first two routes, Shudo and Otava, who even have identical lines. But anyways, after the first fight, Eve realizes that losing someone to death, though she literally just met them and doesn't know a thing about them, is so cruel, and she decides she wants to save the world. But despite not having a clue on how, but who cares about details? Because apparently she didn't even care to learn the script the machines around her operate with for the past 3,000 years. I'm sure she'll get the hang of world saving in no time. And at least she can cook, while the LIs prepare for the mission to save the world. Who are these LIs? First we meet Shudo. He grew up in the dirty, polluted and disgusting slums and protects children from being abducted as a hobby or something. He wants Eve to save the world because his little brother fell ill from the pollution. Yes, guess what? After the intro we never see his brother again. Must have been truly precious. And as soon as he meets Eve, he's immediately in love, wanting her to take her to the polluted world for her sake. And to save the world. Shudo is presented as the goody two-shoes, but to me he's the most naive and selfish character of them all. Not only does he merely fall in love because she's beautiful, he even has the audacity to tell her how she has to lead her life, despite her being the one having lived like 3,000 years in exactly that way. So I guess it was a good thing I didn't see them at all together in his character route. That was made of gigantic flashbacks, and the unconvincing love story didn't play a role at all. Shudo is scouted by Otava, who looks for someone to bring him to Eve, as he's from a family where all brothers see memories of others, and this memory of looking for her was the last thing his brother gave to Otava before he died from a shot trying to flee from their palace. Ooh, super interesting and deep backstory! I think still naive just having started the game. Interesting, I guess you could say deep? The only thing deep in this game is how deep they fall when they fall into Eve's world. And that's about it. Though Otava is an extremely adorable character, being clumsy, inexperienced with the women, and being noble, totally different from this slummy boy, he has a hard time adjusting to Eve's simple way of living. And though their love progression was slightly slower and slightly more relatable compared to that Red Bull in a China shop Shudo, I still need more than 5 minutes on-screen romance scenes to seriously fall in love. Sadly, this is nothing any character in this game can give to me. Though I was extremely excited for Otava and his mysteries, it fell flat on how it was handled. Though it could have been the perfect tragic story. But this is also a game where everything is healed with a little daisuki. Maybe Yacho will be more interesting. Being revived from a corpse they randomly found. Why not? It's sci-fi if you didn't know. He has no memories of who he was, but he certainly was a flirt. That you can rest assured of. This setup is perfect for surprises, and I actually didn't see the twist coming, which allowed the route to have a neat personal conflict, which of course can be solved with a little daisuki, but nevertheless was interesting. The 5 minutes it was addressed, and no random sci-fi stuff was happening, that is. Do has a less knight-like character than Yajur, but rather is obsessed with Eve, hunts her and wants to die together with her. He's a crazy maniac trying to kill Eve, and the perfect yandere in that respect. His route is the only decent one in building up a relationship, mostly in flashbacks, but okay, at this point I would take anything. But also has one of the weirdest endings I've ever seen. And this wouldn't be called otome if you couldn't date the AI, Cradle, who has been with Eve the past 3,000 years, Woo, more relationship building in flashbacks! Why didn't the game just take place 3000 years ago? To save some flashbacks. But as they already have a relationship from the beginning, surely there can go nothing wrong in that route, except for not spending time together at all. I forgot, they pulled the shudo. Just flashbacks and no time spent together. But sure, they love each other. And as a dessert, would you like a grown-up or a Shota AI? We have both. With the same roots, just different CGs. Whatever you desire. What? Well, at least the grown-up version can earn my most sexy award. Because having a man's body apparently gives him needs. But whatever. It was only for the last second of the route. If you still think this is a romantic otome game, let me set this straight. 75% of the game are common route. The first half mecha fights and random sci-fi stuff happening. Because the next 25% are flashback of Eve's past. And the remaining 25% are character route. Some of them also mainly containing flashbacks, like Shudo Cradle, or just filled with more random sci-fi revelations and plot, and of course fighting. A lot of fighting. Mecha fighting, so to say. I wish I could laugh about that. The first time around it was still interesting. Full of animations, almost like a movie, especially if you abuse that skip button, where they scream at each other, talk about their past and future sci-fi goals. But this concept grows old really quickly. The more you realize, there's not more than fighting to this game. All they do is mecha fights, or do sci-fi plot points, but really talk, get to know each other, talk about themselves. Nah, the only sweet scenes we get seem extremely fanservice-y, like having a sleepover or having a bath together. Well, I can understand that Eve is naive when it comes to other humans, as she lived alone for so long. Do we really need to take a bath together? I mean, I kind of appreciate taking a break from all the fighting, but I also would have wished this break would be filled with meaningful interactions, instead of Eve playing in the water like a baby who never has seen water before, and everyone thinking, oh, she's cute. This naive little girl who doesn't know anything and needs male guidance despite having lived for 3000 years already. I really cannot stress enough, despite what it looks like, with beautiful art and beautiful men, this game is not an otome game at heart. It's Xenogears without the Xeno, an otome game without otome, which just makes it a Gears game. I only can recommend it to people who love the mecha genre and don't care about meaningful love stories. Or anything meaningful, for all that matters. Despite some references to Neon Genesis Evangelion, this game is nothing like a deep mecha anime. It tries, but stays way too superficial, locked in flashbacks and shallow dialogue, solving every problem with a one line of confession, though you don't really get why these two even love each other, cause all love scenes have a screen time of roughly 5 minutes compared to 5 to 8 hour routes. And they even suffer from severe true root disorder, with just the true root feeling special and worthwhile. Watch Neon Genesis Evangelion, and you know what roughly happens in Tierblade, just in shallow. Okay, if we take Tierblade is not an otome game, but a visual novel, would that make it better? A bit, yes, as the lack of romance and true root syndrome wouldn't hurt as much. But I still think telling major plot points in flashbacks alone, or just with text on black screen, for what feels like hours, isn't something to be proud of as a visual novel. Is it a good sci-fi story though? Though I'm not an expert on sci-fi stories, and frankly don't even like the genre personally, I'm still able to tell when something doesn't make sense and is totally self-contradictory. Like in Tierblade. Most of the game is made up of fighting and having sci-fi stuff to do, but already in the first route you can notice that doesn't make no freaking sense. The writer solved the problems however they see fit. Let me research the scenario writer. Sandiram Palika, one of the worst games I've played. Find out in that video. I should have known. Maybe the FD can save my lonely, romance-deprived heart, just like my members and patrons do with their support for my channel, or you can do by liking, subscribing, or buying your Amazon Japan games with my affiliate links. But Tierblade, Fragments of Memories, no way. Because apparently a fan disc is not for more romance or character development, but a hella confusing timeline to tell even more sci-fi stories no one understands, and I didn't even try anymore. And what if they made the game even more like a book with no choices and just white text on black background? Great, you got yourself a FD. Frankly, that doesn't happen all the time, but still too much for my taste. And all that random sci-fi stuff is really not my cup of tea. Gladly, there are also after stories for every character. So what could be better than not spending time with your LI? Looking at you, Otava. Or having some plot going on. Looking at you, Shudo. At least the other LI's after stories seemed more focused on the romance. Dor acting like the cutest spoiled puppy, Cradle wanting to knock Eve up, and Yajur being a mean tsundere. I actually kind of enjoyed Yajur's route in the FD, as he also was my favorite in the main game, and once again think they had the most interesting conflict. Though I also enjoyed the romance in all the other routes as well, but except for Dor, all the other stories were unbelievably generic and you really could have inserted any otome or anime character and no one would notice. And that of course comes as no surprise, as there was no real relationship built up in the main game to begin with. So better slap in some fanservice CGs without context, just because to make otome fans happy and get some money out of them. Also make the MC act and look like a child to also please all lolly fans. Perfect game. Done. No, honestly, I don't know what they tried to do with this game. I'm convinced this wasn't planned as an otome game, but a sci-fi visual novel, and halfway through Automate came in, hey, can you make this an otome game? And they somehow shoehorned different LIs next to the true route with half-assed or rather non-existent love development into the game. Added breathtakingly beautiful art that tries to trick you into believing this is a romantic otome game. But believe me, it is not. Don't forget a sprinkle of good voice acting with Akaza from Olympia Soiree, Dante from Pure Fiore, Frankenstein from Code Realize, and Subaru from Diabolic Lovers. And done is the perfect otome bluff package. Not an otome, but it looks and sounds like one. Marvelous. Seriously, I can only recommend this visual novel if you are crazy about the mecha genre. If you haven't watched a single mecha anime, go watch one and come back later if you're still interested. You can watch Neon Genesis Evangelion, but it might make you feel even more disappointed in Tierblade as when you come from an average mecha anime. Tierblade looks beautiful. In the beginning, the characters are interesting, likable, and have cute and funny interactions combined with a tense plot. But this initial good setup is destroyed by bad storytelling, be it the love story or the nonsensical sci-fi story. And I think you will only truly enjoy this game if you love mecha fights and sci-fi and don't mind inconsistencies. Also, your Japanese should be slightly advanced, around higher intermediate or advanced level, in order to navigate safely through all the plot and revelations. But if you are indeed looking for a good sci-fi otome game, I'd strongly recommend Shui no Viesh, which is a splendid visual novel.